Hey everyone, Jonathan Llewellyn Davis, aka The Strategy Man. And this is my office on a Monday, as you can see, with my mate Andy. Say hi, Andy.
Hi everybody.
So we've been out running. This is the Cotswolds, if you can see behind me there. We've just been doing a huge loop over that hill. And we've been around for 2 hours running up, and Andy's just completely destroyed me on the last hill of the run, so I'm a bit miffed at the moment. But I thought I'd grab him because we've been chatting about international trade in China. Andy's one of the top gurus in this space at the moment, and his business actually advises entrepreneurs, particularly coming from the UK and the Western world, into China. But the fascinating bit about this, now some of you smaller companies, service-based companies might think, oh, this isn't for me. And Andy's just actually highlighted a couple of gems, which I wasn't aware of. Because I think some of you might be looking at China or thinking about China from a production point of view, i.e. go and outsource your services and how we can get cheaper service. But the change that's happening in China at the moment is not so much, it's about actually a market for our Western services, not just products. And that's been a massive shift that's happening at the moment. And I wanted Andy to explain this a little bit more because I wasn't aware of it. And his company actually helps and guides companies into this kind of realm. So, Andy, tell us what's happened and what is the shift and how can that help the entrepreneurs out there from the particularly service-based industries?
Sure. Well, in the past, China was where you made things and made things cheaply, and it's built up a fabulous manufacturing and supply chain hub. But what happened in the past few years is that Chinese wages and standards of living have grown. I mean, we have to increase our wages by between 5 and 10% every single year. And that's true for all the factories, particularly all the coastal factories. So it's putting a lot of cost pressure on the factories. As a result, a lot of wealth has passed to consumers. And so these days, China is much more a country to go and sell to rather than it is to go and source. Now, obviously, it is still a massive base for production. A lot of people are still buying stuff. But increasing the opportunity and the growth that we always see these days is people looking to sell. And whereas in the past, selling things to the Chinese usually involved selling them hardware, kit. They were very, very hardware focused because they're an industrial economy. Whereas what's changing is China shifts towards being a consumer economy. And also, as a lot of Western brands have gone in, a lot of the challenges that the Chinese companies are facing are to do with service-related problems. So, for example, getting their product design up to international standards or doing their sales and marketing, their branding. So they're increasingly willing to pay for those types of services. So the British government, and I agree with them on this, they say increasingly China is a market opportunity for British companies, whereas in the past decade or so, the Germans, they've sold a lot of industrial equipment, they've sold a lot of cars. The UK being a very service-strong economy, these days it's people like our architects, like our industrial designers, like our creativity and digital design agencies that are going in there and making a real impact. I mean, we've had a client that's gone into China. They only entered the market last year. They sell design, so they produce videos, they produce websites, they do digital design. They're a very, very creative company based in London. And China now accounts for a third of their global sales within 1 year. The biggest job they ever got globally was from their China account. And their biggest account globally now was one that came out of the China office. And that account has now brought them a whole load of follow-on business in the UK. So even though they're a small company, they're just a few million turnover, they have become a global business through opening an office in China that's led to massive upswing in their UK business as well.
Nice. And there's a couple of clients I've been with. One of my clients, I mentioned it in the videos and stuff, they got their double-digit growth through going to the Chinese market. Service-based company, offering strategic advice really, and particularly in the digital space. So this is so if you're a service-based company, you're not thinking about this. Now, it might not be China for you, it might be some other international countries. But by the way, sorry about this, I'm really hurting because we're on a really big hill here at the moment. But if you are looking at other countries, I normally say, and we were talking about this earlier, I normally say go to UKTI. Well, the UK trading industry, no matter what country you're watching this from, you'll have an equivalent of helping the trade overseas. But actually, if you're looking at China specifically, Andy was saying there's a different organisation, which is actually where most people which UKTI actually outsource out to.
Yeah.
What's that called, Andy?
Well, the China-Britain Business Council, they're the organisation that help British companies that are looking to have trading relationships with China. And that includes sourcing from China, selling into China, but also these days increasingly there's a lot of Chinese investment that is coming into the UK. So they advise on that. They've got business advisors, they've got in-house lawyers and IP people. But essentially what they do, they're like a clearinghouse. What they do is they hook you up with the right specialists in China. Nice. So we're one of the service providers that are off. We get a lot of our business from CBBC because they recommend people through to us as in-country experts. what we do.
And if there are people who are out there who are still looking at maybe manufacturing from China or whatever else, is China still the place to go? Or?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. The thing is, China it's reached such scale of manufacturing. So often, if you've got a product that's assembled, all of the supply chain of its parts will be in that region.
Right.
The local logistics, the road networks, the airports, the ports are at such a stage where it's very, very hard now to move that manufacturing to a lower cost economy like Vietnam or Indonesia. So China, there are some economies, like some industries, for example textiles, where you are starting to see some bleed out. But for assembled products, China, it is still, and it will be for the foreseeable future, the place to go and source product for sure.
Nice. So I hope that gives a bit of insight. It certainly gave me some insight today. This is what happens to me on a Monday. I get some great insight whilst I'm running. It's the best of both worlds, eh? So now, next time, I'm going to go away and do a bit more training so I can try to beat him up the hill next time. But we're going to drop your details below. So any out there really thinking about China seriously, from the multiple opportunities, Andy's your man. And I'm hopefully that giving you a bit of thought. No matter what country you decide, though, it's not if it's other countries. Look and find kind of, really got to think it through. And I think Andy gave the best advice here. I said, if you look, because I'm looking at China right now, but the first thing is you've got to dial it in and go, is this really an opportunity? Because the cost and the resource to kind of get into this thing, you've got to think it through twice before you do it.
Yeah, find a good partner.
Absolutely. Good stuff.
Great.
See you next time.
Shall we do this hill again now then?
No chance, I'm done.